Ladies and gentlemen, life has a way of making us believe that saying yes is the key to happiness. We grow up learning that approval from others defines our worth, that if we accommodate, adjust, and always agree, we will be loved, respected, and valued. But in this pursuit of pleasing others, we often forget the most important person, ourselves. How many times have you smiled when you wanted to cry? How often have you agreed when every fiber of your being screamed no? How many times have you dimmed your own light just to make someone else comfortable? Today, I want to remind you of something powerful. No is not a rejection. It is a declaration of self-respect. Saying no does not mean you are selfish. It means you understand your own worth. It means you refuse to be a prisoner of expectations that do not serve your dreams. It means you prioritize your peace, your energy, and your happiness. There was a time in my life when I believed that saying yes to everything made me strong. I wanted to be the perfect friend, the perfect daughter, the perfect person who never let anyone down. But in doing so, I let myself down. I lost my voice, my dreams, my identity. And one day, I asked myself, when was the last time I truly lived for me? That question changed my life. It made me realize that I could never pour from an empty cup. That love, respect, and kindness must begin with the way we treat ourselves. And so I began the journey of setting boundaries. I began saying no to things that drained me, to people who only took from me, and to expectations that suffocated me. And do you know what happened? I did not lose people. I lost the fear of being alone. I did not lose opportunities. I made space for the right ones. I did not lose love. I found a deeper love for myself. So today I ask you, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that saying no will make people leave? Let them go. The ones who truly love you will respect your boundaries. Are you afraid of being judged? Let them judge. Your life is not a stage for someone else's expectations. Are you afraid of disappointing others? Then remember this, the greatest disappointment in life is betraying yourself just to keep someone else happy. It is time to stop living for others and start living for yourself. Because your dreams, your time, and your happiness are just as important as anyone else's. Say no when it feels wrong. Say yes when it feels right. And most importantly, say yes to yourself because you are worthy, you are enough, and you deserve to live a life that makes your soul come alive. Setting boundaries is not selfish. It is an act of valuing yourself and your well-being. Pleasing everyone leads to losing yourself. Constantly saying yes to others can result in forgetting your own dreams, desires, and identity. You cannot pour from an empty cup. Prioritizing your own happiness and mental peace allows you to give more meaningfully to others. The right people will respect your boundaries. Those who truly care about you will understand and support your decisions rather than pressure you to conform. Fear of judgment should not control your life. People will always have opinions, but living according to their expectations will only lead to regret. Saying yes to yourself is the first step to true freedom. Choosing yourself, your dreams, and your happiness is the most empowering decision you can make. Saying no is one of the most powerful acts of self-respect. Yet it is often one of the hardest things to do. Saying no is not a rejection of others. It is an affirmation of oneself. It is a statement that we value our well-being and that we refuse to let guilt or fear dictate our decisions. Often people hesitate to say no because they are afraid of disappointing others. They worry that setting boundaries will push people away or make them seem unkind. But the truth is, those who genuinely care about us will respect our limits. They will understand that our refusal is not a sign of selfishness, but a sign of self-care. On the other hand, those who react negatively to our boundaries are often the ones who benefited from our lack of them. There is a significant difference between being kind and being a people pleaser. Kindness comes from a place of sincerity and generosity, whereas people pleasing stems from a place of fear, fear of rejection, fear of conflict, and fear of not being enough. When we say yes out of obligation rather than genuine willingness, we are not being kind to ourselves. Over time, this pattern erodes our confidence, making us feel powerless and trapped in a. By learning to say no, we take back control of our lives. We make space for the things that truly matter, our dreams, our passions, and our happiness. We stop allowing others to dictate how we should spend our time or where we should direct our energy. We begin to trust our instincts and prioritize our own needs without guilt. And the most beautiful thing about this transformation is that it empowers us to give in a more meaningful way. When we are no longer overwhelmed by obligations, we can show up fully for the things and people that genuinely matter to us. The ability to say no is especially important in relationships, whether personal or professional. In friendships, it allows us to maintain balance and avoid one-sided connections where we constantly give without receiving. In families, it helps us establish boundaries that prevent emotional manipulation or unrealistic expectations. In the workplace, it enables us to stand up for ourselves, ensuring that we are not overworked or taken for granted. In every aspect of life, saying no is a declaration that we deserve respect and that our voice matters. One of the most powerful realizations in life is that we do not need to explain or justify every no we give. A simple, I can't, I'm not comfortable with this, or this doesn't align with my priorities is enough. We do not owe anyone an elaborate explanation for choosing ourselves. The more we practice this, the more natural it becomes, and the more we realize that true respect, both from ourselves and from others, comes when we honor our own boundaries. Ultimately, saying no is about freedom. It frees us from the pressure to conform, from the weight of unnecessary obligations, and from the fear of disappointing others. It allows us to live authentically, to choose relationships that nourish us, and to pursue goals that fulfill us. It is a small word with immense power, a word that when used with confidence can transform our lives in the most profound way. Pleasing everyone is a path that often leads to losing oneself. From childhood, we are taught that making others happy is a noble trait. We are praised when we share, when we compromise, and when we put others before ourselves. While kindness and consideration are important, there is a fine line between being compassionate and becoming a people pleaser. The moment we start prioritizing others at the cost of our own well-being, we begin to drift away from who we truly are. Many people fall into the trap of seeking validation through their willingness to please. They believe that if they always say yes, they will be loved, appreciated, and accepted. But in reality, this habit often leads to resentment, exhaustion, and a sense of emptiness. When we constantly cater to others, we suppress our own needs, desires, and opinions. Over time, we become strangers to ourselves, unsure of what we truly want because we have spent so long fulfilling the expectations of others. The danger of trying to please everyone is that it creates a cycle that is difficult to break. The more we say yes, the more people expect from us, and the more they expect, the harder it becomes to say no. This cycle leads to an overwhelming sense of burden, where we feel obligated to meet every demand placed upon us. In this process, our own dreams and ambitions take a back seat, and we become consumed by the fear of disappointing others. One of the greatest ironies of people-pleasing is that it rarely results in true happiness for ourselves or for those we try to please. No matter how much we do, there will always be someone who wants more. No matter how much we sacrifice, there will always be moments when people take us for granted. The more we seek approval from others, the more power we give them over our lives. And in doing so, we diminish our own self-worth, measuring our value based on how much we can do for others rather than who we are as individuals. The moment we realize that we cannot make everyone happy is the moment we start to reclaim our identity. It is an awakening that allows us to step back and evaluate our choices. Are we making decisions based on what truly fulfills us? Are we making them out of obligation? Are we living according to our own values, or are we merely trying to fit into the expectations that others have set for us? These are questions that demand honest answers, and they often reveal just how much of ourselves we have lost in the pursuit of pleasing others. Breaking free from this pattern requires courage. It means setting boundaries and understanding that it is okay to say no without feeling guilty. It means recognizing that our worth is not determined by how much we can give, but by the strength of our character and the authenticity of our choices. It means accepting that we cannot control how others perceive us, but we can control how we choose to live our lives. The fear of losing relationships often holds people back from standing up for themselves. But the truth is, relationships that depend on us constantly sacrificing our own happiness are not built on genuine love or respect. True connections thrive on mutual understanding and support. The right people will not walk away just because we choose to prioritize ourselves. The journey to reclaiming ourselves starts with small but significant changes. It starts with pausing before immediately agreeing to something and asking, is this something I really want to do? It starts with voicing our thoughts and opinions, even if they differ from those around us. It starts with letting go of the need to be liked by everyone and focusing instead on being true to ourselves. At the end of the day, we are the ones who have to live with the consequences of our choices. If we spend our entire lives trying to make others happy at the expense of our own fulfillment, we risk looking back with regret. But if we choose to honor our own needs, if we learn to put ourselves first when necessary, we gain something invaluable: the ability to live with purpose, confidence, and a deep sense of self-respect. We often hear the phrase, "You cannot pour from an empty cup," but how often do we truly understand its meaning? In our fast-paced world, people wear exhaustion like a badge of honor. They push themselves to meet expectations, fulfill obligations, and be everything to everyone. But in the process, they forget one crucial thing. We are taught to be selfless, to always be available, and to put others first. But rarely are we taught that taking care of ourselves is just as important as caring for others. Many people feel guilty for prioritizing their own needs. They believe that saying no or taking a break makes them selfish. They assume that constantly giving to others is the right thing to do. But what happens when they're drained, overwhelmed, and burned out? They begin to feel resentful, exhausted, and disconnected from themselves. The truth is, no one can give endlessly without replenishing their own energy. When we ignore our own needs for too long, we eventually reach a breaking point. Imagine a cup filled with water. If you keep pouring from it without refilling it, it will eventually run dry. The same principle applies to life. If we continue to give without taking time to recharge, we will find ourselves physically, emotionally, and mentally depleted. Self-care is not a luxury, it is a necessity. It is the foundation that allows us to show up as our best selves in every area of life. When we take care of ourselves, we have more to give, not just in quantity, but in quality. The idea that self-care is selfish is one of the biggest misconceptions. Taking care of yourself does not mean ignoring others or refusing to help. It simply means recognizing your own limits and understanding that you cannot give your best to anyone if you are constantly running on empty. When you prioritize your well-being, you become more present, more engaged, and more capable of offering genuine support to those around you. Saying yes to yourself is often the first and most significant step toward true freedom. We live in a world where we are constantly bombarded with expectations from others, whether it's family, friends, colleagues, or society in general. We are conditioned to think that making others happy is the key to happiness itself. But in this process, we forget that true happiness comes from within. It comes from aligning our actions with our own values and desires, not from meeting the expectations of others. Saying yes to yourself is a declaration that you are worthy of your own time, energy, and love. It is a commitment to putting yourself first when necessary, and it is the most liberating choice you can make for your life. When you constantly say yes to others and no to yourself, you end up living a life that is dictated by external forces rather than your own desires. You become a people pleaser, constantly trying to meet everyone's needs while sacrificing your own happiness in the process. Over time, this leads to feelings of frustration, burnout, and disconnection from your true self. You may find yourself wondering how you ended up in a place where you feel unfulfilled, disconnected. But when you start saying yes to yourself, you start taking back control. You begin to make decisions that serve your own well-being. And in doing so, you begin to rediscover who you truly are. Saying yes to yourself is about recognizing that your needs are just as important as the needs of others. It means understanding that you have the right to take care of your own happiness, health, and dreams. It doesn't mean being selfish, but it means being self-aware enough to know when you are being stretched too thin. The more you prioritize yourself, the more you realize that you can only give your best to others when you are at your best. When you learn to say yes to yourself, you start to make decisions based on what aligns with your values and goals. You stop living in reaction to the demands and expectations of others and begin living intentionally. Whether it's taking time for self-care, pursuing your passions, or setting healthy boundaries, these choices empower you to live a life that feels meaningful and authentic. The more you practice saying yes to yourself, the easier it becomes to navigate life's challenges with clarity and confidence. Saying yes to yourself also requires letting go of the fear of disappointing others. For many, the fear of saying no comes from a deep-seated desire to be liked and accepted. We fear that by prioritizing our own needs, we will lose relationships or be seen as selfish. But the truth is, those who genuinely care about you will understand that setting boundaries and saying no when needed is an act of self-respect. The right people will support you in your journey of self-care and personal growth. The more you say yes to yourself, the more you will attract people who respect your choices and boundaries. You will surround yourself with individuals who appreciate you for who you are, not for what you can do for them. These relationships will be built on mutual respect and understanding. Another powerful benefit of saying yes to yourself is the growth and freedom that comes with it. When you stop living in a way that is dictated by others' expectations, you open yourself up to new opportunities. You start to take risks, pursue your passions, and create a life that reflects your true desires. You begin to break free from the limitations that have held you back and step into your full potential. Saying yes to yourself allows you to embrace your uniqueness and live a life that is authentically yours. It's also important to note that saying yes to yourself is not about perfection. It's about honoring your needs and being kind to yourself. It's about acknowledging that you are deserving of rest, love, and the pursuit of your dreams. It's okay to make mistakes, to take breaks, and to ask for help. The process of saying yes to yourself is a continuous journey of self-discovery, growth, and self-acceptance. When you say yes to yourself, you open the door to a life of fulfillment, authenticity, and joy. You begin to live from a place of inner strength, knowing that you are worthy of all the good things that life has to offer. You stop compromising your happiness for the sake of others, and instead you prioritize your own well-being. This shift in mindset allows you to live with purpose and intention, making choices that are aligned with your values and goals. Ultimately, saying yes to yourself is the ultimate form of self-love and self-respect. It is the foundation upon which you build a life that is true to who you are. By choosing yourself, you create the space for personal growth, deeper connections, and a sense of fulfillment that can only come when you are living authentically. Saying yes to yourself is the key to unlocking the freedom to live the life you have always dreamed of.